Karen gave me 48 hours to remove my rain barrel. But when I walked into an emergency HOA board meeting with 20 brand new barrels and a certified letter from the state's Water Resources Department, her threatened lawsuit collapsed before she could even file it. My name is Cooper, and I'm an environmental engineer with the Arizona Department of Water Resources in Tucson. For 12 years, I've worked on water conservation programs, aquifer sustainability studies, and helping communities adapt to life in a desert climate. Water isn't just what I do for a living. It's something I deeply care about. What Karen didn't realize when she decided to come after my rain barrel was that she was challenging someone who had literally helped write parts of Arizona's water conservation guidelines. I live in Saguaro Heights, a subdivision built in 2016 on the northwest side of Tucson. The homes feature modern desert architecture with xeriscaped yards filled with native plants. The HOA handles basic upkeep and enforces fairly reasonable standards. For 4 years, everything ran smoothly. Then Karen moved in. She had perfectly styled golden blonde hair and carried herself like she was running a corporate headquarters instead of a neighborhood. She was elected to the HOA board within 3 months and became president just 2 months later. Almost immediately, she began treating the subdivision like her own personal kingdom. Karen's obsession was what she liked to call visual uniformity. She wanted every property to look exactly the same. Identical plants, identical rocks, identical layouts. Anything that stood out or differed from the builder's cookie-cutter desert landscaping drove her crazy. My rain barrel quickly became her chosen target. I had installed a 50-gallon rain barrel beside my house 6 months earlier. In the desert, every drop counts, and capturing rainwater for irrigation is one of the most effective conservation strategies available. My barrel was dark green, matched my house trim, and sat neatly on a concrete pad beneath my downspout. It was clean, well-maintained, and completely legal under Arizona law. In fact, it was more than legal. The state actively encourages rainwater harvesting. Karen didn't care. The first notice appeared on my door early Monday morning. Unauthorized water collection device on property. Remove within 7 days or face fines. I read it twice and laughed. Water collection device was the most ridiculous description of a rain barrel I'd ever seen. That evening, I reviewed the HOA covenants. There was nothing, no mention of rain barrels, water collection, or rainwater harvesting. The only water-related rule concerned irrigation systems and required them to be efficient and properly maintained. My rain barrel made my irrigation system more efficient. I ignored the notice. A week later, Karen knocked on my door. She had her tablet in hand and was already taking photos of my rain barrel from the driveway. "Cooper, you were notified to remove that container. It's still here." I told her it was a rain barrel, and there was no rule prohibiting it. "It's unsightly and violates our aesthetic standards," she said. I asked her to show me where the covenants gave the board authority to decide that. "Remove it within 48 hours, or you'll be fined $500. I looked her straight in the eye. "No, the barrel stays." Her jaw tightened. "You're making a mistake." She walked away, snapping more photos as she went. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived. A $500 fine for noncompliance with a board directive. It also warned that if I didn't remove the barrel within 72 hours, the fine would increase to $1,000, and the HOA would pursue all available legal remedies. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the letter. I wasn't just annoyed, I was professionally offended. Arizona is one of the most water-stressed states in the country. Our aquifers are shrinking. Lake Mead is at historic lows. Climate change is making everything harder. The state has spent millions promoting water conservation, and here was an HOA president trying to punish someone for doing exactly what we need people to do. That night, I made a decision. If Karen wanted a fight over water collection, I would give her one she would never forget. The next morning at work, I pulled every Arizona statute, regulation, and policy related to rainwater harvesting. I compiled state laws explicitly permitting rainwater collection, tax incentives for conservation measures, Department of Water Resources guidelines encouraging residential harvesting, and even Tucson ordinances promoting water capture systems. Then I drafted a formal letter on Department of Water Resources letterhead. My supervisor, Director Amanda, reviewed it and signed it. The letter made it clear that rainwater harvesting is not only legal in Arizona, but actively encouraged by state policy, and that attempts to prohibit or penalize such systems could violate state conservation mandates. I sent it certified to Karen and the HOA board. Then I did something she never expected. I ordered 20 more rain barrels. They were delivered to my house on a Saturday morning. 20 50-gallon barrels, all dark green, and designed for residential rainwater harvesting. I installed them neatly in my backyard, connected to my gutter system with proper overflow valves, and set up a drip irrigation network to feed my native plants. My backyard now had over 1,000 gallons of rainwater storage capacity. It was efficient, functional, and completely legal. I took photos and posted them in the Saguaro Heights Community Facebook group with detailed explanation of Arizona water law and the benefits of rainwater harvesting. I added links to state resources and offered to help anyone install their own system. The response exploded. Within 2 hours, 37 neighbors commented. Some said they wanted rain barrels but were afraid Karen would retaliate. Others thanked me for standing up to the board. Several asked for help designing their own systems. Karen replied, warning that these installations violated HOA standards and that fines would follow. I responded with links to the Arizona revised statutes protecting rainwater harvesting and a copy of the certified state letter. Karen deleted the entire thread. On Monday morning, another certified letter arrived, claiming I now owed $2,500 in fines and stating the HOA was preparing legal action to force removal of all water collection devices. She was threatening to sue me. I picked up the phone and called my attorney, Raymond, a sharp specialist in property and HOA law. I contacted an attorney who specializes in environmental and property law and explained everything that had happened. I emailed him copies of every notice, fine, statute, and letter I had collected. His name was Raymond, and after reading through the documents, he actually started laughing. "Cooper," he said, "she doesn't have a case. Arizona law is crystal clear. HOAs cannot prohibit rainwater harvesting. There's a specific statute that protects it. If she sues you, she will lose immediately, and there's a good chance you'll end up paying your attorney fees." I asked him what he recommended. "Let her file the lawsuit," Raymond replied. "Then we'll crush it in court and countersue for harassment." Karen never filed the lawsuit. Instead, she called an emergency HOA meeting for Thursday evening. The notice claimed the meeting would address illegal water collection systems and enforcement of community standards. I showed up with Raymond, Director Amanda from the Department of Water Resources, and a reporter from the Arizona Daily Star who covered environmental issues. The community center was packed. More than 100 residents attended, many of them motivated by my Facebook post and eager to support water conservation. Karen sat at the front table with 3 other board members, a man named Bradley, a woman named Melissa, and another man named Frank. All 3 visibly stiffened when they saw Amanda and the reporter take seats. Karen opened the meeting. "We are here to address the unauthorized installation of water collection systems in violation of HOA standards." Amanda stood immediately. "Excuse me," she said calmly. "I'm Amanda Cervantes, Director of the Southern Arizona Regional Office for the Department of Water Resources. Before this meeting goes any further, there's something that must be made very clear." The room fell silent. Amanda continued. "Arizona Revised Statute 33 to 1808 explicitly states that HOAs may not prohibit the installation of rainwater harvesting systems. Any covenant, restriction, or rule attempting to do so is void and unenforceable. What Mr. Cooper installed is not only legal, it's exactly the kind of residential conservation Arizona desperately needs." She placed the document directly in front of Karen. "This is a formal advisory opinion from the Department of Water Resources, confirming that systems like Mr. Cooper's are protected by state law, and that HOA attempt to prohibit them violate Arizona water policy." Karen's face drained of color. Bradley, Melissa, and Frank leaned forward, reading the document in stunned silence. "But they're unsightly," Karen said weakly. "They don't match the neighborhood aesthetic." Amanda shook her head. "Aesthetic preferences do not override state water law. Arizona is facing a water crisis. We encourage every resident to adopt conservation measures. Any HOA that interferes with that is acting against state policy and exposing itself to legal liability. Raymond stood next. I'm Raymond Chun, Mr. Cooper's attorney. My client has been fined over $2,000 for installing a legal conservation system and threatened with lawsuits for exercising a state-protected right. If this board continues down this path, we will file suit against the HOA and against each board member personally for statutory violations, harassment, and abuse of authority. Frank raised his hand. I didn't know about this law. Nobody told us rainwater harvesting was protected. That's because Karen didn't research it before issuing fines, Raymond replied. Bradley turned toward Karen. Did you know about this law? Karen said nothing. Melissa looked at her sharply. You knew, and you fined him anyway. A man in the audience stood up. I want a rain barrel, too. Can I install one without being fined? Yes, Amanda answered. Every Arizona resident has the right to harvest rainwater on their property. A woman raised her hand. I want a system like Cooper's. Can you help? I nodded. Absolutely. Within 10 minutes, more than 20 residents expressed interest in installing rain barrels. Questions flew about capacity, installation, and irrigation integration. Karen sat frozen at the front table, defeated. Bradley finally stood. I move that we rescind all fines against Cooper immediately and formally acknowledge that rainwater harvesting systems are permitted in Saguaro Heights. Seconded. Melissa and Frank said together, all in favor? Bradley asked. Every board member raised their hand, except Karen. Motion passes, Bradley said. He turned to her. We also need to address your leadership. You fine a resident for something explicitly protected by state law. That's unacceptable. Karen stood abruptly. I resign. She grabbed her things and walked out as the room erupted in applause. Bradley was elected president that night. His first action was rescinding all of Karen's fines. His second was creating a sustainability committee to promote water conservation throughout the neighborhood. I volunteered to chair it. Over the next 3 months, I helped 42 families install rainwater harvesting systems. We organized bulk purchases for discounted barrels and hosted weekend workshops on installation and maintenance. The neighborhood transformed. Rain barrels appeared everywhere. Native plants thrived on harvested water, and residents took pride in their conservation efforts. The Arizona Daily Star ran a feature on Saguaro Heights as a model conservation community. The Department of Water Resources used us as a case study, and the city of Tucson awarded the neighborhood for residential sustainability. Karen moved out 2 months later and relocated to Prescott. My original rain barrel still sits beside my house, joined by 20 more in my backyard. During monsoon season, they fill quickly and keep my landscaping alive for weeks without municipal water. Standing up to Karen didn't just protect my rights. It sparked a movement. And every time I tell this story at work, it proves that one person refusing to back down can change an entire community.